is chronic policing?
Thank you, Kate. Okay, I'd quickly like to just emphasise that I'll be talking about a renewed interest or importance attributed to perceptions within criminology. And more specifically, not necessarily perceptions of crime or the types of volume crime that criminologists typically focus upon, things such as car crime, robbery or burglary, but more low-level crime, things that the British know as antisocial behaviour or the Americans term incivilities. So very quickly then, just a brief overview. A minute or so on the signal crimes and signal disorders perspective. A word on neighbourhood effects and some leading research which has come out of the US recently. A brief overview of a structural equation model which actually comes from my own PhD. And all of these three pieces of research, as I say, emphasise the importance of perceptions within criminology. So it's that which I'm focusing on. Okay, so the central tenet then of the signal crimes perspective was that some crime and disorder issues matter more to different people than others in terms of shaping their risk perceptions of the neighbourhood. Now this was used as as I say, the founding principle for the National Reassurance Policing Project. One of the key findings, which was quite surprising at that time, was that it was actually low-level offences, incivilities, things such as youth hanging around, litter and graffiti, which were outranking more serious crime in terms of the residents' perceptions of neighbourhood safety. So you can see there that things such as drugs and youth were often outranking burglary and even in some cases murder in terms of threats to safety. Further than what the INES research was suggesting then is that what matters is the social visibility of certain events which are occurring in public space, which will often contain a strong repetitive element. Now, of course, the INES research is focusing specifically on perceptions of risk or perceived problems, if you like, and our subjective perceptions aren't necessarily representative of objective observations or experiences of crime and disorder. Now, somebody who has paid significant amount of attention to this is Robert Sampson, one of the leading empirical sociologists of crime at Harvard University, who recently suggested that the studies of neighbourhood disorder had once again assumed priority within the social sciences. Now, in making this comment, he was referring to a flurry of work around the broken windows thesis, which seeks to suggest that there's a causal link between minor disorder and more serious criminal activity. Now, of course, this went on to underpin the zero-tolerance policing approach, and this is despite empirical support remaining equivalent at best. Now, in more recent times, Sampson has focused on perceptions of disorder and their renewed importance. And he says there that the grounds on which perceptions of disorder are formed are contextually shaped by social conditions that go well beyond the usual signs of observed disorder and poverty, starting a process that molds reputations, reinforces stigma, and influences the future trajectory of an area. So he goes on to suggest at the end of this paper that it's actually perceptions of disorder, more so than actual criminal victimization, which are an underappreciated cause of long-term neighborhood decline. This then, as I say very briefly, is just one aspect that I managed to test within my own PhD of Sampson's thesis. This is a structural equation modelling of some British crime survey data which stresses the importance of perceived disorder, as you can see there, over and above actual extent of property and personal victimisation, and also the experience of incivilities. And these measures are standardised, so you can see there that the most powerful predictor of fear of crime and various quality of life measures within these models that I ran was certainly perceived problems with disorder. So just to conclude then, it goes against the grain of most mainstream criminology for the last 100 years, but incivilities, the minor events, if you like, can no longer be denied a central role within criminology. Perceptions, and specifically perceptions of disorder, even if inaccurate, can have a significant impact upon a local social order. And as I say, this is more so than the extent of crime or even observed disorder. And finally then, perceived disorder, as we know, influences individual and corporate decisions, which in turn can shape the long-term trajectories of urban neighbourhoods. Thank you.